Step in my dojo, you
Step. Step in my dojo, you
step in my.
Hey. Yo, what up? Hey. Hello. Welcome. At Producer Dojo, we have a constant stream of live events waiting for you to come get your learn on. Sign up at the link below to make sure you don't miss out.
Yo, what is up, Producer Dojo? I'm so stoked to be with you guys today. My name is Richard. I go by 6th Street, and we are talking about processing of main vocals today. How in the world do you get a clean commercial vocal? It seems like it's so elusive. There's a million plugins out there. There's so many ways to do it right, so many ways to do it wrong. So today I'm going to talk about the 3 steps that I take to make my vocal, my main recorded vocal, sound crispy, sound clean, sound big and wide. And if you have any questions about it, just drop it into the chat, and I should be there to answer any of your vocal questions. Once I discovered how to work with vocals and how to process them, it opened up my entire music career to so many more opportunities, because so many people listen to a song and the vocals are the first things that they cling on to, then the first thing and the last thing they remember. So you definitely want to get your vocal game on point. Hopefully these tips will help you today, but these are the ways that I like to process my main vocal. With the main vocal, I have 3 main steps that I'm considering when I'm trying to make a raw recording sound big and thick and full. The first step is cleanup. Second step is big processing. This is parallel processing, and I'll share with you the plugins I like to use and everything like that. That's a big doozy right there. The third step is cleanup again. Generally, after you've done all your processing, adding air and compression, it brings up a lot of the junk and the bad stuff, I guess, in the vocal, and you need to clean that up again. So very simple. Step 1, clean it up. Step 2, process parallel, do a ton of stuff to it, make it sound big. And step 3 is clean it up again. When I say clean up, it's fairly simple. We're looking at getting rid of unpleasant frequencies, all right? So step 1 and step 3 are similar. You're doing things like de-essing. So you get a lot of those crazy S sounds in the 3 to 5K range, and you need to address those problems. So de-essing is a big one, and also using an EQ to search and destroy frequencies that are either harsh or boxy. Those are the frequencies you're looking for in the cleanup stages, in either stage 1 or in stage 3. So in my case here, I have this big old chain, and I'll kind of talk about what's happening here. I have different vocals that are dry that I pulled from Splice as well, and I'll demonstrate and turn on the things as we're going. And these are all Ableton plugins as well. But I do think that there are a lot of other plugins out there that are really, really great at working with vocals and making vocals sound really saturated and full. But these Ableton plugins will totally work as well. I'll give you my favorite ones that I like to use, and you can replace them with whatever you like.
On a high emotion picture.
So in this first stage here, before this right here is stage number 2, this big vocal rack, and I'll talk about the parallel stuff here. Before that, I have all the cleanup first. Right? So cleanup, right off the bat, we have a de-esser. I like to use the Waves de-esser because you can just put that right on and then pull the threshold down. It just notches out those nasty S's and the sh sounds and the ch sounds. But the Ableton de-esser also works as well. And the cleanup of harsh and boxy frequencies, I am using this audition mode and turning on different nodes here to search different harsh frequencies that might be picked up from the vocal, and also in the low mids as well. I'm looking for boxy frequencies that might have been picked up from the recording environment that you're recording in. Often when we're recording, we are recording from our home studio, and it's not a treated place, so different reflections from our room get picked up as different boxy frequencies. So you're looking at the low mids, like stuff that kind of feels muddy and unclear. Those are the frequencies you're really looking out for the boxy frequencies, and you're looking for those nasty harsh frequencies that might just be inherent in their voice. So once you find that frequency, assume that this is a nasty harsh frequency. You find it, just notch it out slightly here, and just to get rid of it. Sometimes you see people do that. That's not the best way to do it. Just a little notch to gently get it out of the way before you get it into the big processing rack later on. Also, another thing I like to do right off the bat is just roll off gently some of the low end. Just the rumble and the reflections from your home recording environment can be problematic. So I roll it off right in the beginning. If you're using the Ableton EQ, quick pro tip, if you right click it, there is an oversampling mode, which is really great for stuff like vocals. It makes your highs sound a bit cleaner. So definitely turn that on if you're using this for vocals. So we've done some de-essing, done some cleanup frequencies with the EQ. And then another thing I like to add before I go into parallel processing is a gate. So I have the threshold pulled really, really low so that the second the vocal speaks, it will that will pop through the gate, but the gate will push down anything that is silent. So just any sort of hum or AC noise that might be in your room.
I just wanna be like Iggy. You know, you can't get it like me.
Step number 2 here, we're going into parallel processing. Step number 2 is the big doozy that we want to talk about. If I turn this guy on here, you can see that there are a bunch of different parallel chains that I'm sending my vocal through. The big 2 workhorses for me. Everything else underneath here, these are optional. You don't really need these. These are more so to taste. But with the parallel rack here, I'm basically just sending the dry chain through one, so that way the dry signal from what I've cleaned up from before is unaffected. But then I'm able to add different layers into that dry chain to sort of beef it up and give it more depth and dimension as well. The big main 2 workhorses that I turn to are going to be my dry chain and then also the. When I first started in the dojo, total newbie, had no idea what I was doing, and I remember I was putting reverb on my kicks, which is not always a bad thing I've learned, but I was like reverbing my kicks out and I was like reverbing my drums out, and looked at the year-long package and I'm like, you know what, I'm ready for this. Let's just jump in and commit to it. So I jumped in for 1 year and I'm like, okay, I have 12 months. I saw the belt system and I'm like, okay, like this is some kind of progression. Let's just like get after the belts and start working. Started like crushing the weekly download. Just honestly, just like seeing that moment happen from when I first started in the dojo as a white belt. It really was a process of learning to trust, well, to grow as a producer and to like trust my own skill set and to like believe in my own music. So I've had some really cool opportunities with music. So big ups to the whole dojo, and big thanks to you, Dylan.
Heck yeah.
The big main 2 workhorses that I turn to are going to be my dry chain and then also the compressed chain. So generally with a compressed chain, you're looking to over compress the signal of your vocal so that it is kind of like a bricked out, very, very little dynamics with that vocal. And then you can take that vocal that is highly compressed and mix it into your more dynamic dry signal. And that mixing together will always give you just a more beefed up signal. It's still pretty dry in general, but it's a more beefed up signal of your vocal. So these 2 are the big workhorses, the main things that I'm looking to for my parallel compression or my parallel processing, sorry. And you can see with my compressor here, I've turned on, you just want to be really, you want to pull this way down here. You can see where your vocal is coming in and just get yourself a really nice compressed signal. You can see with this vocal, for example, it's very dynamic. There's lots of peaks and everything like that. So I'm going to look at this peak right here. Let's go ahead and solo this and loop this here. And let's solo the dry signal so you can hear what it sounds like.
It's time to shine. Give 'em what you got, baby, time to show.
Beautiful. All right, so the compressed signal, I want to do the same thing and just play it through here. And let's actually turn off this little saturator for now. And I'm just going to compress the signal so that way I'm reducing the dynamic range a bit on this thing.
It's time to shine. Give 'em what you got, baby, time to show them all you are.
And sometimes I just like to limit it afterwards just to kind of compress it a little bit more with the limiter, just to get rid of any sort of stray peaks or anything like that. And the reason why I have this here, this saturator, is because this sort of emulates when you use an analog style compressor. For example, if you have the CLA 2A or CLA 76, those are 2 great analog style compressors that you can use. But I would use this right here. Instead of using a compressor and a saturator combo, I would use one of those analog style compressors because it not only compresses your signal, but it also colors your signal as well. So it gives it sort of a nice warm saturation. So in this case, I'm creating this kind of saturated compressed chain here.
It's time to shine.
And I can use this compressed chain. It doesn't sound that much different than the dry, it's just reduced dynamic range. And I can mix this into the dry.
It's time to shine. Give 'em what you got, baby, time to show.
It starts to beef up the signal a little bit. It still sounds very, very dry, not very dimensional, but it starts to give it a little bit more of that like warmth and beefs it up a little bit with the signal. So this is a big workhorse for me, these main two here. The next two are also very, very important. I'm looking at adding some parallel layers of not only some width here with sort of a Haas effect, but also adding vocal air with this as well. So this is gonna add some highs with the air, also add some width with the Haas effect here. So these are also in parallel. You hear when I turn these on, it will sort of expand the signal a little bit more.
It's time to shine.
Solo this.
It's time
You hear how it's so wide because of this delay over here.
what you got.
It's just a Haas effect. I'm gonna turn this on, and as I mix it in, you can hear how it sort of widens the signal, just a click.
It's time to shine. Give 'em.
This is too much. I like to do this too. I like to go too much and then pull it back.
It's time to
Horrible, right? Too much, but let's pull it back.
It's time to shine. Give 'em what you got.
Kind of opens the signal up a little bit, and then now the vocal air, this is just a isolated high EQ, just compress the crap out of it, and you get this.
It's time to shine.
Lots of sizzle. They can add a lot of S's and craziness to your signal as well, but it's good to add some high end to it as well. That's too much, so let's go ahead and unsolo that and mix it in, turn that signal on.
It's time to shine.
Too much there?
Give 'em what you got, baby, time.
Less is more in this case with the vocal air because it's easy to overblow that and get your S's to be too loud and crazy. So with these four, it's already done a lot in terms of making the signal feel thicker, wider, and brighter. So let's turn it off.
It's time to shine.
On.
Give 'em what you got, baby, time.
Off.
Show them all you are.
On.
It's time to shine.
That alone gives a great commercial sort of gloss and sizzle to your vocal right off the bat. Other things I like to have as sort of fun layers I can try out are an OTT parallel processing layer. You can mix that in if you want to. A slap delay, which is a very, very short delay. It's like a very short ping pong delay back and forth. And I like to just add that to sort of add a little bit more width as well. These are all to taste. Maybe it fits, maybe it doesn't. And also a flanger. So this is a very aggressive effect. Less is more with the flanger for sure. But sometimes I find myself adding some of these just to add a little bit more of a texture to my vocals. Other things that add dimension are a reverb and delay. These are two things to add a little bit more depth to your vocal, and you can sidechain it to itself so that when your vocal is singing, the reverb or the delay is ducked, and then as the vocal is done singing, the reverb or delay swells up into the space after the vocal. So definitely sidechain the reverb or delays to the vocal itself so that it is out of the way of your vocal singing. That's a big one. Step two is that big beefy processing. Parallel rack, you want to keep your dry chain, mix in parallel compression, mix in parallel some Haas effect and some vocal air with the isolated highs. This will give you a much chunkier signal and a much more saturated and full vocal. All this other stuff can be for fun, but you can throw that in parallel if you want to and test that out. Step number 3, after you've done all of this extra saturation, all this extra compression, and sort of beefed up the vocal air, often you get problems with your S's again and your sh sounds and your ch sounds and everything. So you want to go back through. Step number 3 is just clean up again. Again, I have another EQ here to attenuate low frequencies or low rumble, and I'm going to go through scan for problematic frequencies with a narrow Q. Notch those babies out, and also a de-esser. Like I said earlier, my waves de-esser is the one that I turn to pretty often. Also, Soothe is a really great plugin. I just discovered it recently, and it's amazing because it will sense buildups in frequencies and then notch it out with AI. So it's very, very powerful and sounds very transparent as well. So if you have Soothe or Soothe 2, those are great options for stage 3, where you are attenuating and cleaning up your signal again.
Okay.
Awesome, guys. Hope that was useful for you. Again, my name is Richard. I go by 6th Street, one of the senseis here at the Producer Dojo. Once you learn how to work with vocals, it unlocks so much potential in your music career. If you have any questions about what we talked about today, just drop a question in the chat. I should be there to answer those questions. Thank you guys so much for being here. I will see you guys next time, and much love. Happy producing. Stay safe, stay indoors, and yeah, I'll be on the lookout for your next big tune. Peace out, guys. See you later.
To ashes.